guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Leo's Nerd Talk, and today we're going to be discussing Immaculate. So let's get into that. Immaculate tells a story about a nun journeying off to Italy to join a new covenant of nuns while finding out that things aren't as they seem and are very, very sinister. Now, I was a bit worried going into this movie. You know, obviously all the buzz online kind of changing my worry a little bit, but because I was a little bit late, I started seeing a lot of different people's reviews and reactions and stuff like that, but I still was worried because I didn't know what this movie was going to be. You know, I thought might be a the Nun ripoff, and if that was going to be the case, this movie would have been terrible for me. But everybody seemed to really enjoy it, seemed to be really kind of infatuated about the concept of it. You know, I didn't actually watch people's reviews because I didn't want anybody to sway my thoughts before I got to see the movie. But it did get me in the first half where I did think this was going to be just a Nun ripoff, because it definitely goes through that cycle of kind of creepy imagery, visions, different like distortions and stuff like that. So it looked like there was some sort of demonic presence that was kind of within this little kind of covenant of sisters. But it goes kind of a full 180 and definitely surprised me on what direction this movie went. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and get into the pros for me. And to be honest, I was a bit worried about Sydney Sweeney being the main character. Not because I don't believe in her acting ability, but I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to disconnect the actress from the art and just see Sydney Sweeney in a nun outfit and not see just a nun. And she does a great job. You know, her emotions, her kind of demeanor, the way she acts, the way she talks, her face, the way her face emotes. Like, she did an amazing job that definitely sold me on her being in this situation. I wasn't distracted too much that it was just Sydney Sweeney in a nun outfit. And like I said, I am so glad that this didn't go in the way of a demonic possession or demonic presence or anything like that. This definitely went in a lot of more different sinister ways. And if you haven't seen the movie, you definitely need to see what those sinister ways are. It's definitely way out of left field. It's some crazy things going on within this movie. And it takes you definitely by surprise because they're playing with the laws of nature. They're basically trying to play God, if you know what I mean by that. And it goes to some different intense routes that you definitely don't expect. And while there was quite a few jump scares, especially at the beginning, it didn't really rely on that for the entire movie. And I was worried it was going to rely on that because the beginning half kind of got me where it just felt like another nun movie. But it definitely went into more of a kind of body horror. It's just a lot more intense and drama, and just the way people act, the way all the things were going on around them. It just was more of an intense movie than a jump scare movie, which I really appreciated. Like, there was a sequence where Sydney Sweeney is pulling her nail off because of something that just happened to her. And I don't know what it is, but I have something about like nails getting ripped off. And that part really made me uh, kind of cringe a little bit, not in a bad way, but that way where you're just like, oh damn, that does not look like it feels good. So like it went on all the different routes in that way where it was, like I said, a lot more body horror, and it was a lot bloodier than I expected as well. So I just really thoroughly enjoyed the horror aspect that they went and didn't rely too much on jump scares. And this movie definitely plays with your moral compass, especially the final scene. Like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it definitely makes you think of kind of what you would really do in a situation like that. Because like I said, they're playing with the laws of nature here. And it's something that you understand why Sydney Sweeney's character does the things that she does. Even though she is supposed to be a nun and not be sinning or anything like that, she definitely goes into an intense route. They push her to become this way, to be able to escape. And that final scene, it's definitely a difficult one when you really think about it and you kind of sit back and think about the actual morals of that. But at the same time, when you think about the other side of how they're playing with the laws of nature and that what they did is not right, you also understand why she did what she did. And so it was just for a very intense final act where there was just constantly stuff happening. And it was just, like I said, very intense. At every turn of a corner, you expected something to happen. And it did kind of uh, did a little bait and switch when it came to like some of the horror stuff. But at the end of it, it was just very intense, very gruesome, a lot crazier than I expected the film to be. And I'm glad that this movie was honestly so short, hour and a half runtime. It definitely makes for a more intense watch because there's constantly things happening so fast. It has to kind of get up to pace very quickly right from the beginning. It doesn't drag anything too far along. And I feel like if this movie was 3 hours long, it wouldn't have worked the same way. The intensity would have to definitely dial back. And I like that this is constantly always putting something in front of you, something intense going on, so that it always keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and get into the cons for me. And one of the main cons, I just wish they would have delved a little bit deeper into why these people are really doing this. They give you a very brief and simple explanation, and I just wish we went a little bit deeper into that lore. But I think if we did that, of course, the movie would have to be a little bit longer. But it just would have been interesting because it definitely seemed like a pretty crazy idea and something that you would never expect. Where they have, just to not give too much away, they have the nail that was used to crucify Jesus. And through that, they are trying to do some sinister stuff with it. And it goes to different routes where you would be kind of curious of how did they get this entire kind of covenant of nuns and the father and the priestess to kind of back this idea and completely change the ways that they would normally would be thinking. So it's something that would have been very interesting to kind of delve a little bit deeper than having just a simple one line explanation that they did. And also wish they went more of the route of the second half and took away the jump scares and the creepy imagery and the nuns down the hallway in the dark and standing above you, like all that stuff. I feel like took away from the movie. If they would have stuck with the plot of what's going on in the second half and all the sinister stuff of what's going on down below and in the catacombs and the nuns with the red mask, if they would have stuck with that plot only and didn't try to go with all these creepy images that made it seem like there was some sort of demonic presence there, I think this would have been for a more intense movie. Because this movie, at a certain point, once you reach the halfway mark, it doesn't necessarily feel like a horror movie anymore. It feels like a thriller, if anything, because there's so much intensity. It kind of feels like there's a lot of action going on and not necessarily horror going on, right? So I wish if they would have went with that, this would have been a lot more of an intense watch. Because having that beginning sequence where it felt like a demonic presence, it kind of throws you off a little bit because you're like, oh, just another nun movie, and then it does that 180. So if they would have took away those jump scares and those creepy nuns down the hallway in the dark and all that stuff, and just focused on the second half plot, I think it would have been a lot more cohesive, clear movie. And I've been seeing people all online and even, the ads like they normally do, scariest horror movie ever, scariest horror movie in years, scariest horror movie since Hereditary. They always do that kind of stuff, right? And even like people that are on TikTok, they're like me going home after seeing Immaculate, checking every corner. And that's what kind of worried me, that it was going to be like a demonic presence type of movie. It's not the scariest movie. The jump scares, they'll get you if you're not expecting them. It's not a scary movie at all, though. Like I said, it's more of a body horror. It's more of an intense thriller, more of an action packed movie, if you will. And it's definitely not one of those movies where you'll go home and you think that there's something in the dark or you have to look over your shoulder. It's not scary in that sense. It's just more of a thought-provoking, intense movie that kind of blows your mind of what's really going on within this kind of church area. But overall, let me know what you guys think about Immaculate. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. A horror movie that I wasn't expecting to actually like. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on Immaculate. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And again, if you guys like talking about movies, TV shows, or video game related, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll see you guys on the next review.